Hello, I'm Wayne Visser and I'm Director of CSR International, and I'm here today in the Ukraine, in Kiev, with Rodion Kolyshko, who's advisor to the Confederation of Employers in Ukraine. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you start out by giving your views on what trends you see for CSR in the Ukraine?
Okay, so maybe I should start with the point that CSR in Ukraine began approximately 3-4 years ago, and it was the so-called golden times for Ukraine, because there was a rise of economy and the prosperity of society was rising very much, and the CSR issues were concerning more to the question of philanthropy, and charity. This is the beginning. After that, after the beginning, companies moved to the understanding that charity is not only the social issues, social responsibility issues, and there came some indicators of good reporting. So from that very moment began the real understanding of CSR issues, and it was approximately in 2007. Together with this, there was the process of global compact, and it was very good understood by Ukrainian society, but only formally, because as we see now, on the question of reporting on global compact, not many companies understand their obligations being socially responsible and as they declared. That's why, as for the general trends in this sphere in Ukraine now, we could observe first the cut in the budgets of so-called social responsible companies, and this is very general trend here now. But from the other hand, the companies that are really responsible, they become more and more stronger. There are quite few of them for the moment, but they are there, and some of them were presented here. I would like to mention an example of a company, Industrial Union of Donbass. Mr. Taruta just had a speech here related to the development of the local community, because the metallurgical plant is based near the city, and almost all population in the workable age are currently are currently employed by this company. So that's why it's kind of system plant for this region. And the company not only does its best on the field of modernization, but it also gives quite a lot of money to the local development. But not only giving money, but they created an initiative of development. So that's why, and USAID was, as a United States agency, was involved in this process, and there was elaborated a kind of plan of development of the city. So, but the crisis also changed a bit the general idea and the general process. Another trend, it's the state involvement in this field, because in the beginning, business and Confederation also was strongly opposite the idea of state regulation of these issues, understanding that being social responsible by law, it's not the voluntary initiative at all. But understanding the hard times for this, we saw the interest of state to be involved in this process, not regulate but involve, and we were happy to hear the idea of creation of concept of social responsibility, of business or corporate social responsibility in Ukraine. And the second good point is that this initiative was created by Parliament, not by the executive power. And understanding that the trend is going on and we can't reject it, we decided to join it. and we are now in the process, in the quite beginning process of elaboration of structure of this concept. That's why we really think that it will be good for Ukraine to have because we know, and I think every company which is trying to be socially responsible in our society meets the problem of not understanding by society the initiatives, because the society think, okay, you are rich, so you have to, you must do something to us, and we will thank you for this activity. But they do not understand that this is the internal understanding of the company. This is not the obligations. Because in Ukraine we have quite high obligations of business to the state, and every social responsible company has to feel comfortable in the law sphere, the sphere of law.
Now you mentioned the UN Global Compact. Yeah. What's been the experience with that, and are there any of the principles that you think the companies find the biggest challenge?
Well, according to the global compact, I think that for really a social responsible company is not very difficult to fulfill the obligations of this initiative. And examples of a number of companies in Ukraine, like SCM, like Interpipe, like Kiev, you heard their speeches. They quite easily fulfill these obligations. But the questions of but if the company is not really socially responsible, this is the main question is the accountability. So it's a really tough question to prepare a COP. But in general, frankly speaking, it's not a big issue. So this is the question of internal will of a company to say something about their progress in this field.
Last question, perhaps one of the perceptions from outside, I suppose, of this region is that corruption is one issue that is a difficult one to tackle here. How are companies, especially the progressive companies, tackling this?
Well, it's a top secret of the companies how they tackle this challenge. But really, it's a problem in Ukraine. Corruption, this is not the secret, are in all spheres, almost in all spheres of our social life, and this is our tragedy. And business has to decide for itself, or they follow the so-called general rules of doing business in Ukraine, and this is of course not socially responsible behavior. Or they do something different. They pay so-called white salary. They do not give some money to the right people. But they of course have some problems. It's more or less it's a bit easier for foreign companies in Ukraine because they have the power of embassies, they have the power of quite strong NGOs defending their rights. But for small and medium, it's a bit easier for big companies because they are big, and power understands their necessity, so-called golden eggs for every economy, for every region. But the most affected by this is of course small and medium business, especially small business, which even very often doesn't know their rights. That's why the authorities said pay or go. So this is quite tough in Ukraine, unfortunately.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today.
Okay, thank you.